Welcome back. The government shutdown, Democrats winning elections a week ago, the Epstein files, a lot going on. Charles Lipson is professor emeritus at University of Chicago, a frequent contributor to Real Clear Politics and many others. His columns, by the way, are available for free at charleslipson.com. Charles Lipson joins me again on Newsmaker. Good to have you back on the program.
It's always a pleasure to talk with you, John.
Okay, Charles, let's start with the government shutdown. 43 days. What was accomplished, if anything?
Nothing. It was just a fruitless exercise, and it was all done because the last time we came to one of these fiscal cliffs, Chuck Schumer had agreed with the majority. He was the minority leader, is the minority leader, and had just done a simple extension, which is what is usually done. The left wing of his party attacked him brutally. So when it came up this time, he decided to do the opposite, figuring if he was attacked for going along, he would at least and get some praise for resisting. The problem is that he was never going to win this battle. And so at some point, as air traffic began to slow down and as people were not receiving checks, even though they had to report to work in the military and so forth, the pain was getting too much to bear. And a number of Democrats decided, with a wink and a nod from Schumer, to vote with the Republicans because they needed 60 votes to pass what's called a clean CR, that is a continuing resolution.
Yeah.
And that's what they finally did, and now he's been brutally attacked by the left for giving in. The short answer is yes, he gave in, but no, he wouldn't have gotten any more if he'd held out for another month.
Yeah, this was going to be my point, Charles. In these shutdowns, there's just no record of either party getting concessions on a shutdown if you don't have the majority. And Republicans learned this lesson as well the hard way. I think in 2018 they tried to do this, and I can't even remember what the issue was they were holding out on. But at any rate, it never quite works if you don't have the votes.
You got it, John. I will say there was one thing that was different, maybe two things. The first thing that's different is this time the Democrats are deeply split between the sort of young Turks who are very much on the socialist left and the more sort of center-left Democrats, like the ones who won in New Jersey and in Virginia. But the mood in the Congress is much more like Mandami. The second thing that's really different this time, and I'd be interested if you, deeply embedded in the media, think the same way. Usually, the mainstream media is able to carry everybody along in opposing the Republicans and saying it's all their fault. This time, I don't think they were able to do that.
No, I agree with that. I agree with that, Charles, and for the simple reason that I think between Twitter, the decline of legacy media, people are getting their news elsewhere. And so everybody singing from the same hymnal doesn't exist anymore.
That's exactly right. People have alternate choices of news. One thing I would say about that is that the news that we tend to get is from an echo chamber.
Yeah.
We go to the Twitter feed. If I click twice on cute dogs, all I'm going to get is cute dogs. If I've clicked twice on I hate Party X, all I'm going to get is other people who hate Party X. And so
you've cracked the code.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And we have choices. There was a time in which everybody watched Walter Cronkite, and if you didn't watch Walter Cronkite, you watched Huntley and Brinkley,
Yes.
and it was the same news.
Yes. You know,
but
and
that's
what's
not true
interesting,
anymore.
it's interesting because
Yeah.
at that time with 3 legacy major networks, everybody in the country kind of had some commonality on what the agenda was. The agenda now is all over the place. There is no common agenda.
That is so true. There's no common agenda. There's no common basis of facts. And if you were to ask staunch Republicans what are the big legal issues right now, they would talk about January 6th. They would talk about this massive effort to get Trump that lasted for multiple years and is now focused on Jack Smith and so forth.
Yeah.
If you were to ask Democrats, the list of things that they think are at the top of the agenda would be top of the legal agenda would be completely different.
Yeah,
and
I think you're right.
In particular, they would say that it's all about Trump executing revenge. So, I mean, it's just like people are living in different worlds.
No, I think we are. I think we are. Let me go to what you touched on the socialist movement within the Democrat Party. I don't know what you think. I'm thinking this is about maybe 8 to 10%, honestly, of Democrats. I don't think there's that many that are that far left. But they are carrying the energy right now within the party, maybe an outsized energy for what their numbers actually are. But we did see socialist wins, obviously, with Mondami. We saw them in Seattle. We saw them in Atlanta on city council races. There are tried and true socialists getting elected. What does that tell you about where we are, where the Democrat Party is?
It's the triumph of hope over experience. There is no way that the programs that they're proposing will work, and they will be extremely costly and they'll fail. But they do have the energy within the Democratic Party. When I talk to Republicans, I talk to people on both sides. When I talk to informed Republicans, before Mamdani won, here's what I heard. I heard them say, this will be wonderful for the Republican Party nationally and terrible for the country. And so they were torn. They didn't want to see him win because they love the country, but they knew that it would help Republicans. Why will it help Republicans? Because he and AOC are going to be the face of the party. Now, the Democrats will try to say no, that there are other faces, but who's going to even remember the names Spanberger and Mikey Sherrill and so forth? These are the party doesn't have a single leader, and Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer, whatever you think of them, they're inside baseball. They play inside Washington and speak to fellow legislators. Both are in trouble, by the way, from the left, and the left is well funded. It's not just Soros. There's a lot of other money that's coming in.
Charles, I wanted to move for a second to these Epstein files. We'll spend a couple of minutes on that. What do you make of it? Is there any there where, in regards to President Trump, that seems to be what everybody's pointing to, and they want to know, is he somehow more deeply involved than we thought, than we've been led to believe? What do you think is happening with that entire story?
Well, the first thing to say about it is that what Epstein did, and did for a long time, was really very, very troubling. It couldn't be more troubling.
And it was kind of well known. It reminds me of Harvey Weinstein. It was the worst kept secret in Hollywood.
Right. So that's item one. Item two, does anybody really think that the Department of Justice under Biden, which had all this information, wouldn't have released it if they thought that it could sink Trump? They were doing everything else they could to sink Donald Trump, right? They were bringing all sorts of thin cases against him. The number 3 guy in the department went off to join local prosecutors, first in Georgia and then in New York, to try to bring him down. So if there had been anything really powerful there, they would have released it. That's at least the way that I see it.
Okay, so in just contrarian here.
He seems to have known what I think the newest documents show. I'm sorry, John. What I think the newest documents seem to show is that he was aware that something bad was going on there, and he didn't do anything about it. But he was a private citizen at the time, and by the time he became president, all this stuff had already gone to court.
So he doesn't want the distraction, is what I'm hearing people saying. He's not worried necessarily what's in there, but he thinks it will be a constant distraction for months from what he's trying to accomplish. Is that your take? That's why he's resisting?
I think that that's one of the reasons the Democrats have played it so high, is that they think they don't have a lot of strong issues, and they think that this is one way to dirty him up. But I think that the problem is they might as well just get it all out as much as they can.
That's my feeling.
A, he promised it.
Promised it. He did.
And B, if you don't get it out, it looks like you're hiding.
It does. Yes,
C,
totally agree.
It just keeps trickling.
Yep.
Drop, drop, drop.
Okay, since you wrote the book, a book for students on free speech called Free Speech 101, a guide for students. I want to get your take on what happened with Turning Point in UC Berkeley a few nights ago. What is happening right now with free speech on campuses, which are supposed to be the incubators of thought, not conformed thought to one side or the other?
Well, the saddest part of what happened in Berkeley is that Berkeley, for those who are old enough to remember, who've read a history book, Berkeley in the early 60s was where the free speech movement on college campuses began.
Yep, I grew up 40 miles from there.
You did. And so you knew that these names were really important. These were people who were speaking out. In this case, they were speaking out on the left.
Yep.
To
Tom Hayden, the whole group.
Exactly.
Yep.
But to see people who think they not only want to suppress the speech, they have a the people on the far left, I'm talking Antifa and some of the others, believe that they also could benefit from police repression.
There you go. Charles Lipson, Professor Emeritus, University of Chicago, frequent contributor to Real Clear Politics, and his columns are available for free at charleslipson.com. Charles, always a pleasure. Appreciate your time.
It's great to talk to you, John.
Good to see you. We're back in a minute.